What's up, what's up, what's up, what's up? What's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? We got an interesting topic today, you know? Well, first, how was all doing? Hope all is well. And if not, I hope we can get back on track sooner than later. Second attitude thing, I mean? You know what I'm saying? I know it's that. You know, I guess we've been lied to so much. We've been led, and it's within the system. You know what I'm saying? The education system and everything. So obviously it's deliberately, you know? But when I was younger, right, I realized the Indians are black people, right? And then I heard that black people is in every continent and everywhere, you know? And I'm like, damn, that's so crazy that black people is everywhere, but how come? And how come we don't know that? Well, they're not teaching that, first of all. It's in history, and you have to do your research. You know, I just go deeper than and I hold a vibe, and a lot of times my vibration comes in close to what's the topic is at the time, right? So I'm saying, how come black people is everywhere? You know, but when you're young, right, we are taught about a globe and the earth, and this is it, the one world, you know, just the beginning of things, you know, a globe, and that's it. You have to accept that. But when you find out about a flat Earth, right? And then actually they show you a map of the flat Earth, and then you start understanding the universe and the concept of the flat Earth map and the concept of you know, the infinite plane, right? I'm saying the different dimensions. Once you start putting it together and piece the puzzle together, it says, I understand how come black people can be everywhere. And there's possibly more life. You know? Because the globe that they give us right here, that's not it. See this right here? Matter of fact, see this right here? That's the universe. That's the flat earth concept, right? But each rings is like you heard about the ice walls in Antarctica, right? And those are separating the different land masses, all on the same plane. Now, if you look right here in the middle, let me lower the map real quick. If you look right here in the middle, you see how the ice walls right in the middle, and all them lands are in the middle. Well, those lands are the seven continents that we exist on. But if you notice, there's breakage, and there's like doorways to get out and go to the other land. But they say once you get to Antarctica, that's it. You can't visit Antarctica. You can't go there. Why not? Hey, it's a one world government apparently because they all shut it down with their different treaties. I might Google someone in the editing and look it up and see. But if you notice, right, there's more lands. But my focus of today's talk though, that just give you the basis. You know, because we're beginning to research and really look into our existence, our world, and where we live at, and where we exist at, right? And if you notice, right, within the ice wall, what I'm pointing out, and all those continents, that's what the globe is basically. And all those continents, just that's it. There's way more to the universe, but we're gonna explore that on another topic, another video, right? All right, boom. So now, you always talk about the beginning, creation. Hey, everybody got their creation myth, all the different countries and ethnic groups, whatnot. You know, also their languages, the different groups of people. Now we're all on this land. You want to talk about creation? Guess what? Everybody was created at the same time, and we're all on this land. East, west, north, and south. You know what I'm saying? It's like almost like we all created or we all started or we all lived on the North Pole type stuff. You know what I mean? And as people grew and as time goes, people moved around. You know? And throughout time, people ended up on each of the continents. Now, on the continents where people exist, they're developing themselves. And people existing, having their languages, their cultures, their traditions. You know what I'm saying? Everybody was coming up. It's just that Europe, Asia, Africa is bunched up on its own. So while those people are developing, the African nations, you know, the Asian nations, the European nations, they're all developing. And when you hear all the stories of wars and everything, there's a lot of war that went down in those areas, the Middle East, the Europes. Hey, the Mongols, right? Those are Asians, and they were a war unit. The Vikings, right? They're a war unit. The Africans, I don't know about the war situation, but knowing that section of the world, people's always at odds. Even right now with the Russian and with Ukraine stuff going on, right? So while those people were developing their odds, guess what? People here in the Americas were developing as well and living their lives from north, central, south, all the Americas. They're supposed to be black people, so-called black people, basically. They're the black people and the Spanish people. So there's a mixture of people. But guess what? There were separate groups, separate nations, separate tribes, and they had their languages. And they all spoke their languages just like the European groups and the European nations and all the European, Asian, African connection over there. They all have their languages as well. The world is big enough. The world is big, and there's a lot of people in the world. You know? So, now, to get to my title, that black people everywhere. Think about this. You have black people living in Africa, obviously. That's the main topic. Then there's black people in Asia. There's black people in Europe. So why wouldn't there be black people in the Americas as well? And that's like black people is everywhere in the world, in retrospect. Now, when you look at my map, there's more worlds beyond, there's more lands beyond these 7 continents. You know what I'm saying? But we can't get past the ice wall. At least up to now, anyway. Up to now, anyway. Let's see where time goes. Let's see where it leads to. You know? So, basically, there's people everywhere existing and developing themselves and living their lives. Now, a lot of war comes out of the European nations, and I'm not saying that the Asian and African don't have war at turmoil, right? Even here in the Americas, where the tribes at odds, where the tribes fighting each other, who knows? There's a possibility because when there's a destabilization, you're easy to be taken over. You're easy to be run down on when you're not paying attention. When you're constantly in war mode fighting and shit against people look like you, you know? Your same people, same family. You know what I'm saying? So basically that's the history that's how people were. The European nations, African, Asian nations were developing. They know about the Americans and the peoples of the Americas and their tribes. Pre-Columbus, you know what I'm talking about. These nations were developing as well for thousands of years. You know what I mean? That's the history they're not telling us. See, we ain't critical thinking a lot, like me. And you look at the pieces of history and you see where they're lying to us in every sector to cover their asses and everywhere. It makes sense when you look at the flat Earth map and then you put it together, man. I said, hold on one second. Like growing up, you hear things, and it's like pieces to the puzzle. And it's like what's for you is for you, but you gotta take it and understand what it's meant, and then look into it. Just like I heard about black people everywhere and all of these things, and now I'm looking into it and I say it does make sense that not only black people everywhere, but there were people in general, just everywhere. So now fast forward to the 1500s. They say 1492, whatever the case is. Even before that, I heard that the African nations developed traveling and boats and stuff like that. And so they created that. So they started traveling on the world. And I think they got to the Americas as well. You know what I mean? But disregard that. There was already people here. So when those African nations started traveling and they came here, they started mixing and mingling with the people that's already here. You know? And now, the history that they were telling to us now is at some point in time, the European nations started traveling as well. And they buck up on the Americas. And they said came through in the Americas. The colonizers as we know it. And to take a little bit of truth out of the history that they give us, well, the colonizers are the colonizers. And they're colonizers for a reason. Now, there's a big question that I got to really research and dig deep dive in. Were the tribes at odds and they stayed one up and the land itself was not like, unity, unite, tribe. But then again, right, if all the tribes are speaking different languages, they couldn't possibly be together. We don't know. But from the results of the colonizers taking over and setting up their lands and setting them shopping, because if it's 1492, quote unquote, that they're bucking up on land, and the independence is 1776. So from 1492, 1500 to 1776, that's 250 plus years from the colonizers came on the land, set up shop. Then you know about the 13 states at first. The Americas was all one landmass with the islands in the middle, and people existed in all these lands. So when the colonizers came, it took them over 250 plus years, possibly more, to take over and conquer the Americas, where they're in full control and created their own country called the United States of America. Because from the 13 states united together, they band and grew and spread it out. And the series of movies, I mentioned back in one of my talks about cowboys, the Indian movies. I used to be watching those movies. How the West was won. How the cowboys in Indian movies telling their dramatic stories about fighting Indians and all of that. The Indians, whether they were black people, they were fighting for those lands. And then California was Mexico. But was Mexico a Spanish-speaking country at the time, or they had their own language because they were still the natives? You can't forget, how the European, the African nations, Asian nations, they had their own languages. Well, the Americans and the American nations had their own languages as well. And it wasn't English and it wasn't Spanish. So you got to look at that history that we're not thinking about. You got to look at the history. I guess that's the advanced history they teach you in college. They don't teach you this stuff in high school. They teach you the basics. After all, they give you this globe for the world. And then they don't talk about the other lands and the possible other peoples. The blue man groups and the green peoples. All these other stuff you hear about. And if you haven't, I heard about stuff like that. And that's why we're piecing the puzzle and we're just holding a vibe. But because of the lack of information, the education system not giving us the right information, they're going to tell us what they want. But that's part of the propaganda, part of the mind control. part of controlling the narrative. Your emotion goes a long way, right? Emotions are energy in motion, and you are basically energy in motion. And you translate that motion through your actions, your vibrations, your feelings, even speaking. You know what I'm saying? But that's how come black people is everywhere. And if you follow the I guess the history that they teach us, then you won't understand the logic. But if you throw that out for a second and think about this world is just not this world only. There's more to this world beyond the ice walls. That's what I'm talking about right here. And there's other lands, other cultures. Who knows? We're stuck right here and we can't go past Antarctica. So they give us nonsense stories. And then remember the NASA psyop as well. Because this picture is the real picture of the earth, right? Channel style. But that's it though. That's how where we are. Remember, the story is not being told. We don't know much about the natives, and their stories told in their history and their language in the books that we're not being, we don't understand the language, but the story's there though. And we gotta do our due diligence and take our time to look into it. You know what I mean? Think about that. That's how come black people's everywhere. Now there's people everywhere in general, but I'm just saying though, that a lot of us with the one narrative of everything started on the East Coast and on East Africa, and then it spread out throughout the world. Do you want to give it that? Yes, but they also give it a evolution theory of people who came from monkeys and developed and now developed and everybody else. When science don't know, they just give you theories. So it's up to you to take those theories and run with it. You know what I'm saying? Now, where do people in general come from? I don't know. You listen to Bobby Hemmett, it would tell you some esoteric stuff. How this world didn't exist in the physical, but it was a manifestation. It was the spiritual liberty, Lemuria. You heard about Atlantis and all these things, right? Well, Atlantis was supposed to be when the earth fell into the first world. Now, Lemuria is that when the earth was in a spiritual vibration and people exist in the spiritual world and the world that's thing is the physical world. But that's existence in itself. Existence continues to exist and have new creation to test the boundary of creation. To test how far and how limits can go. And that's where there's so many different dimensions in existence. But when we all existed in the spiritual world and the universe was vibrating at a spiritual level, whatever happens, there comes the devil, there comes the fighting of the good and the bad fight. With those negative vibrations, we fell into a physical form. And now here, into Atlantis, and now here we are. There's so many mythical stories. If you really dig deep dive, you can take what they give you now, Adam and Eve, and that's that. Or you can deep dive and see what's really good. Remember, the Adam and Eve, I'm starting to think it's just for the English speaking people. A lot of different nations, different countries have their own creation story and creation myth of where people come from. But that's going to be so much more videos to make because there's a lot of research to give. But I'm just saying though, I do a lot of critical thinking. But that explains it though. And the history that they're giving us is a whole bunch of lie. A lot of stuff went on. But if we chronically go through things and really look at situations, We look at different things. We can analyze history. We can analyze things. And I heard so much stuff growing up, but now we have the podcast to hold a vibe. You know, so much stuff going through history that I heard. It makes it's like to understand why the way the world is. You have to look at history and see what it's been through. You know, you heard about the Romans, you heard about the Egyptians, and now it's the states that's full power. You know, but what if, right? The Romans and the Egyptians got together and created the states. What if that's what the order we're under right now? You know what I mean? That's why we give Egypt so much energy to big it up, the history. We really don't know. And we're getting ideas from all the movies that they paint, the pictures that they paint. You know what I'm saying? But to tie everything into the land here, now we starting hearing about the Mound peoples in Atlanta, in different parts of the Americas. The Mound peoples. See, there's so much to look into. So much to understand about history of the story. Remember, Anna? Shit, we in the Matrix, and man, the game of life is all about surviving. Whew, they keep us busy. But, hey, when we have time, we sit back and hold the vibe, you know what I mean? This podcast and other podcasts, or whatever you're into. I just want to know information, but also pictures tell 1,000 words. And looking at these universe right here, there's so much more to explore, you know? And with my little bit of understanding of different dimensions, I wonder if those are the different dimensions that's on this plane, in this game of life, in this earthly existence. You know what I mean? We come to exist to have an experience, and we're sure of having an experience in these times. You know what I mean? It's like the teachers to confuse us, crazy, crazy. Some people take their whole life to really get into the understanding of where we are, or some people just take it as what it is. And why would people lie, right? The globe, the flat earth, why would people lie, right? But common sense is common sense, and we all got that. And this, I'm just using some critical thinking. You know what I mean? And even in the globe, black people still exist everywhere because, guess what? What if people were just created and appeared everywhere? How? Just like the Lemuria story I heard from Bobby Hammond. How Lemuria was the spiritual world, and then the Lemuria fell into the physical world. And if people existed in the spiritual world and they manifested now into the physical world where we are, then you understand why people were on every continent. You know what I'm saying? But in the sea, it's just a game of life, and someone is controlling the narrative of this matrix, the matrix system that we're in. You know what I mean? And who's controlling the narrative? Is painting the picture, telling the stories. But yeah, I'm just saying. But you feel what I'm saying though? How come black people will be everywhere? And because black people is everywhere, speaking their different languages, their different cultures, we're not all the same. And now in the Americas, black people from everywhere that come into the Americas. You got the Africans, the Europeans, the Asian brothers, and they all come to the States with the American brothers, the Caribbean brothers. So we all black people that mixed up, and we're not all the same. The psyops, it make it look like we're all the same with the rhetoric. You know what I mean? I'm just saying though, think about it for a second, y'all. Think about that. We're not all the same. We look the same. I mean, in technicality, we don't look the same because we have different features. It's just that we're melanated. And that's what people go by, but that's the psyop of controlling the mass of people, especially in the United States, where everyone from all over the world come and mix up. And they control the narrative. You know what I mean? You have to throw all the history out that we learned. It's hard because that's all we know. But there's other history, the real story. And there's books. And there's information. And there's pictures. And remember, a picture tells more than a book in 1,000 words. And you can sit there and look at the picture and break it down. And in retrospect, look at this universe. Look at the map of the universe. In retrospect, you know what I'm saying? Think about it. Those other rings could be the other planet they're talking about. Different vibrations to get there. Those could be the different, you know what I'm saying? The different terrariums. Who knows how it's set up? Or just the infinite plane with all the different lands and the Mars and the Plutos and the whatever the hell, all those 9 planets. And, you know, there's so much to get into. But I just wanted to a quick talk, you know, just put that out there. That's like black people's everywhere, but that makes them different, and not all black people are the same. We all speak different languages. If you look at a French brother, I don't know what a French brother speaks. Be saying in French, you know what I'm saying? But we're brothers there, right? Well, look at the world, how the world is. Look at who's controlling the world, and look at the rhetoric. I call it the Matrix mind game, the game of life. You know what I'm saying? And we're playing the game. Whatever hands you get, right? You deal with it and all of that. But you got to understand where you are first. All the rhetoric, you have to ignore that and just keep it moving, keep it pushing, and do you. It's your existence. But the world is on the rhetoric, right? I'm just holding the vibe, just pointing out a few things. What do you want to believe? The globe right here? Flat Earth right there. I'm just saying. The universe right there with all those planets and going around the sun, or the flat Earth, the infinite plane. Now, there's so much more to get into when you talk about the flat Earth, the infinite plane, the different dimensions, the different terrariums with their own sun and moon. There's a lot to get into. But I'm just trying to keep it on topic because I usually go off topic. And it's rough on my editing. It's rough when I'm editing because I go off topic, you know what I mean? But that's how come black people is everywhere. We just got the story wrong, but that's what they're teaching us. They have to teach us the right thing. Shit, if you know our traditions, but now in the Americas, how can you know your traditions when the language has been changed? Remember, I know it was a couple hundred years before America became American independent. 1492 to 1776, all the years in between, what was going on? All the different wars, changing over the land, changing over everything, getting the people. And that's why my new question is, were the tribes at odds? How the colonizers can come in and maybe side up with this one to fight against this one, and after beat this one, then they take over that one. A lot of trickery, you know? A lot of trickery. You know what I'm saying? A lot of trickery. But we're here where we are now, and we got to unravel the mystery, the puzzle. It's going to be hard because we really don't know what went on, but we have ideas, and we just got to get back to those books. And a lot of people talking about this, you know what I mean? So I'm just holding my vibe, and a lot of stuff I thought about when I was younger, now I can really put it together because things are opening up now. If I didn't see this flat Earth map, I probably still believe in the globe. And this flat Earth map is older than the globe. You understand? This flat Earth concept is older than the globe concept. The globe is actually new stuff. It is what it is. But we're in the Matrix mind game. We're playing the game of life, and we come from an experience, and we're here. And we're here, and that's what it is. You know what I mean? So I'm taking my time just to hold in the vibe, put some understanding in this, because we got so much things to talk about. We got so much stuff to talk about. Because now we know that black people is everywhere. So that makes them different. And in the Americas, with black people from everywhere come to the Americas, make it all different black people mixing up. So we're not one people. And that's how come we think different, we act different, we move different, look the same, but it's a different vibration, and you gotta understand that. You know? So when they say black people need a leader and all of that, and we're not all the same. And that's why people move different and act different. Black people's not all the same. You know what I mean? So wherever you from, that's where you at. That's where you from. You know what I'm saying? But like Bobby Hemmett said,
the great mixture of souls in the West.
America mix up with everybody, and that's what we gotta understand. So, but maybe, right? Another 1,000 years from now, we can understand the coming togetherness, because we ain't want this Matrix mind game. I can't imagine we trying to have an existence, you know. But it is what it is, and in order to get back to what the true essence of this experience of life is, we have to eradicate whoever runs the Matrix. And by coming together, that story of Bible, where separates the mass, by coming together, we can knock out whoever run the Matrix and get this world back in a different space, in a different time. It's spiritual. Who knows? On spiritual levels, it's a whole different beast, because physical, spiritual really don't mix. Unless you know all them rituals, I guess. Yeah, so that's it, y'all. That's all I got. But what y'all think, though? That's how come black people is everywhere. And because of that, you have to look at the different languages, look at the different concept of life, you know. Remember the different cultures of different concept. If they all have the same creation culture, then we got all the Caribbean peoples, the Americans, Europeans, Africans, Asians. A lot of black people, right? Everywhere. Different languages. We all speak different languages. And if you think about it, the English language is the last language. I don't know if it's the last one to be created, because I don't know if there's anything that came after. But all those other languages were first. And in the America, they speak English now. The natives did not speak English, but we speak English now. And that's a problem with studying the history, because we don't understand the natives' language. If that's the problem, you know what I'm saying? That's the issue, translating what went on. But people's doing it, and more is coming clear. And I'm holding the vibe, you know what I'm saying? And with my critical thinking, you can add a little bit to the story too. You know what I'm saying? I'm always gonna big up the natives of the land. I'm gonna ignore the story that I was told, what was taught to me going through the school system. But when I'm seeing the natives of the land, And now in the States, everybody's mixed up. So all that rhetoric about black people don't know their history. Now we know the history, just that we don't understand the languages. You know what I'm saying? And that's the fact. That's a fact. John was stop. But you know, I'm gonna end this one. This talk. Drop a comment if you're holding the vibe. Understand some more about history. I'm just saying. Think about that, yo. And that I'm gonna catch you on the next vibration. But I do remember, yo, stream CLP got beats on all streaming services. And if you're artist, content creator, someone looking for beats, or just want to hold the vibe, tap into beatstars.com/CLP. Use the code SUMMER for 90% discount on all beats. And there's other discounts going on, so tap in beatstars.com/CLP. You know what I mean? And on that note, catch you on the next vibration. CLP, yeah. Peace.